Hey folks, Councilman Rasmussen here. I wanted to do a update. This will be the first one of these that I do, but I thought it was be a fun thing to give a quick update on the activities and actions from the town council meetings. For not everybody obviously can make it out to all the council meetings, or are able to go back and watch the video or listen to the audio from the meetings. So this here won't by any means cover everything that was talked about, but I thought it would be a little piece to hit a few highlights for from the council meeting, and folks can either watch it live if you're up at 9:40 at night and want to learn about town council activities, or because it'll be up here on the page, you can view it at another time. So the main council meeting ideas and or discussion pieces for tonight. There were a few things on the agenda. We always start off with updates, and so some of the things that were shared that I think are pertinent and interesting for folks to know about. One is the town is moving to a new financial management system. It integrates a lot of our revenue, our expenses. We've used the system in the past. It has unfortunately not provided a ton of deep available details for either the town staff to use in budget planning and budget tracking, or especially any sort of access for the community to be able to look at the town budget and see what that looks like in a real-time basis. This is a multi-year project to move to a system like this. It's quite expensive. We actually worked with the city of Milford earlier this year to align the vendor and to sort of get some training and some background on what this system could look like. But the mayor gave a little bit of an update on the progress towards that new financial management system and what we're going to be able to see and do in the interim that helps us better look at what the finances are for the town. So more to come on that, but ideally in the future there'll be a way for people to literally go on the town website and look at how the town budget is tracking, and get a better picture of exactly what your tax dollars and contributions to the town are being used for. So that's good stuff. A couple little things from the town manager. The town's fall bulk pickup is going to be happening again in October. It's going to be starting October 11th through the 22nd, I believe. This is where you have the opportunity to put things out on the curb that are large items, and the town staff is going to pick those up and dispose of them. Last year, we had the ability to come and drop off at the Public Works building. We're not going to be doing that again this year. The town staff is going to be managing that, so that's going to be happening in October, and we'll mention that again when it kicks off. Leaf collection for those of you with lots of trees, that starts up here. Next week on the 15th, you'll be able to start raking leaves out to the street and getting those collected. So little things to plan for. One of the other updates, and there's a lot of pieces from this. Folks might know a little bit about the American Rescue Plan Act funds. The town, in the end, qualifies for a little bit more than $6 million in funding from ARPA. The state qualifies for $900+ million, and the state has dedicated some of those funds. I think they're talking about $100 million or so towards rural broadband projects that may not touch on Smyrna, but they did talk a lot recently about using some of that for water infrastructure. Most of the town's funding for ARPA is we've dedicated that towards some of the major water sewer infrastructure projects that we've got to tackle. North Main Street, there's a North of Duck Creek project, there's an East Commerce Street project. Those are all really, really big investments for us. So we're going to be putting most of the money that we get for those to helping offset all the engineering costs and get those projects started. It looks like the state is going to put a decent chunk of their ARPA funds into that pot as well, that municipalities could access to help pay for some of those projects. So not sure what we'll be able to get from the state to help to offset that, but any of those type of programs or savings we get, they obviously save the town money and they save on what we may have to take out in debt. If you've been to any of those planning meetings for the utility committee or anything like that, we need a new water tower on the north side of town. There's extending utilities even further up Route 13. to some of the other potential properties that are there. So there's a lot of stuff on water infrastructure, and clean water infrastructure is a place that the state is willing to put some of their money up. So ideally that saves us money in the long run if we can get some of those funds. A constant thing that's an unfortunate almost joke for a lot of us at this point is the South Main Street project. The last major piece on that is the old electric poles need to come down. And for folks who've asked about this, the reason why they're not down yet is because Verizon has not moved their utilities underground yet at this point. The holdups from them have been numerous, but they basically need to get all of their all of their data cables and things moved to the underground utilities so that we can have our guys come in and take down those last utility poles and ultimately finish the sidewalks and all the things that go along that so that the beautification aspect of the South Main Street project gets finished up. So little by little, they have started some of that work. It is still not going. The town actually went in and they topped some of the poles so that we could start removing what we can. But hopefully we'll be seeing more progress on that much slower than we would all hope. And we certainly, like I said, it's kind of become a little bit of a joke about whether or not Verizon's actually going to get this stuff done. We did have a cool presentation a little bit from the Kent County MPO this evening. The MPO is the Metropolitan Planning Organization. This is a group that essentially works with the county and DelDOT and the municipalities to plan for infrastructure projects in Kent County, transportation infrastructure projects, mostly in Kent County. They went over a lot of what they do and how that impacts the municipalities. Something that I thought was pretty cool, though, if you have a chance, you can go on the Kent County MPO website and see this. They've actually created an app where you can use it to report any transportation infrastructure issues. So if there's a pothole on DelDOT roads, something like that, they've got a way for you to give them a little bit of background. I've not used it yet, but I'm going to download it here this evening and see what it looks like. They did say, which I think is no surprise, most of the roads in Kent County are DelDOT controlled. Even here in the town of Smyrna, we have roads that are DelDOT roads because they're linked to major infrastructure, and it makes sense for the state to maintain those. So there's a lot of roads, there's a lot of intersections that are DelDOT responsibility, and the Kent County MPO is really the folks who are doing the planning about how a lot of those projects are likely to get addressed here in the county. One of the ones we specifically talked about is the Route 6, Route 300 intersection. A very, very tight turn in some directions depending on where you're going, blind spots, all sorts of issues that come from that. Makes it very hard for fire trucks or ambulances to make that turn. And then major truck traffic that moves from the west to the east coming into Smyrna, into Clayton. We have some significant issues there. And so those are projects that are already on their list to address. Not soon enough for most of us, but they're at least things that are in the planning. They're doing some of the work studies and things like that to see what can be done to address infrastructure like that. So if you got problems with DelDOT roads, get that app from the Kent County MPO and make sure they hear all about it. One action that the council did take this evening that was part of our new business was we sunset the personnel committee. For a long time, the town has maintained a personnel committee of the council. It's a little bit problematic in that anytime the council is talking about personnel issues, there's likely to be privacy concerns. But having a personnel committee it means that committee needs to be open to the normal FOIA considerations and open meeting rules. And that's created a problem for the town numerous times in the past. So the most municipalities at this point have done away with the idea of a personnel committee, and they utilize the executive session and executive abilities for the town council to address personnel issues. It's been on consideration by the council for a little while, and we finally took some action this evening to sunset that personnel committee. to give us a little bit, I guess, to utilize that committee more of how it would be used was just not realistic because privacy concerns associated with personnel. So that's an action, one less committee from the town. A couple other things that were neat. One of the big discussion items we had earlier this year, the town agreed to submitted to apply for a grant from the state to access some park funds, specifically for redoing the bathrooms in the municipal park. Last year we applied for $50,000. That was the funding that ultimately got used to do the new basketball courts at Sunnyside and Green Meadows. The way the grant works is it's a 50-50 match. So the town put up $25,000, the state put up the other $25,000, and that funded those projects. This year we applied for a total of a $250,000 grant, which means $125 from the state and $125 that the town would need to put up to redo the bathrooms at the municipal park. Folks were out there for Smyrna at night. We obviously brought out a lot of porta potties, but I had one of the young ladies who works for us at the distillery. She noted that the bathrooms were amazingly clean, and this town staff did a great job keeping the older bathrooms clean. However, the privacy is a big concern in them, especially in the women's bathroom. So it's been something that's been raised for years that the bathrooms there have had issues, and the town has been talking about what to do with those. So that we've applying for that grant, and the town will have to put up matching funds. We're going to look for other possible grants that we can use to support that. But it all aligns, and it's part of the bigger effort to do some serious work about planning out our municipal parks, how to better utilize the spaces, the great outdoor spaces that we currently have, and make sure that the amenities that we have in those spaces are designed to meet the needs of this size community. And I think the bathrooms there have been something that have been an issue for a long time. So more to come on that. Hopefully the grant moves forward as expected, and the town will then, hopefully by this time next year, have removed and replaced those bathrooms in the municipal park. So you'll see construction there next summer, ideally. And then the last big thing that was part of the meeting, Brooks Keene and Gerald Manley and another representative from Citizens Hose Company came to give a presentation to the council. The Citizens Hose Company is obviously a fantastic and old part of this community, and their needs as they look towards equipment replacement, the need to service an ever-growing community, a community that's grown by more than 100% in the last 20 years and will continue to grow. And the town right now gives the Citizens Hose Company a grant of about $30,000 a year, which they utilize to pay their electric bill, and then ultimately, support some of their programs. That amount has gone up little bit by little bit over the years, but I think there's a recognized, certainly by myself and a number of other members of council, that there's an opportunity for us to do more to support the Citizens Hose Company, and so we had a presentation by Brooks to walk over sort of what some of their needs are. We talked about the idea of doing a little bit of strategic planning so that the town has a much better understanding of how those needs can be met over time. And ultimately, we want to sit down with the finance people, the finance committee, and try and identify what additional resources that we can put to support CHC. So there was not an action taken on that this evening, but there will be some coming up in the future, ideally, so that we can try and increase that support. I know that one of the big challenges as this town grows is relying on the CHC and the great volunteers that are part of that organization. We tax them more and more, not tax dollar, but tax them for their time and their commitment more and more as the community grows. And Smyrna is not unique in this. Many towns struggle with how do you make sure that you have a functioning fire department. And relying on volunteers is fantastic. It's also harder and harder to get volunteers. So the things that we can do from the town that could help support that, I think, would be very meaningful. I'm sure we can never do enough, but we can try and do more. So that was the quick update of things that I had from the council meeting tonight. If anybody has any questions, I'll follow the questions on this and try and answer stuff. And like I said, my goal is try and to after the council meetings each or twice a month to try and do a quick update like this so people have an idea of kind of what was talked about and what was going on. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, great weather, beginning of fall, and had a wonderful and safe Labor Day. And we'll see you all again soon. Take care.